got along when we were growing up. And over the years, cause, I always saw him as Superman, and like I always looked up to him. And then as I grew older and I realized he had faults, it let me down. And then, as being a teenager, I was getting in trouble all the time, and me and him were constantly fighting. And now that we're like age to age, you know what I mean? Like our ages have leveled out. And, it's weird that we can have these conversations now, and we can actually be really good friends. My father's 58 years old. This man just bought an iPhone, has no idea what he's doing with it, right? And it's so funny, because it's like, to him, I mean, he grew up, he didn't have phones, you know what I mean? Like, in general. Until now, like, he calls me every minute, and the man, like, okay, so I was like, Dad, you have to get on this text message thing. He goes, why? I could just call you. Why would I text message you if I can just call you on the phone, right? I'm like, nah, but because sometimes you may not be able to talk and you can know whatever. So when he finally got his iPhone, this is the first time he ever had a text message. So I text message him, right? And like 24 hours go by and he finally responds, right? He responds, and as soon as I see the response, the phone rings. And it's my dad. I'm like, hello? He goes, I just wanted to see if the text message went through. I'm like, this totally defeats the purpose. So anyway, so this poem was for him. Have you ever noticed how life is a lot like toilet paper? How it always seems to unravel faster the closer you come to the end of the roll. Smoking cigarettes with my father, this is what he passes down as profound insight the day he turned 58 years old. My father has never been clever with metaphors. He attends a prayer group on Saturdays, goes to church on Sundays, and once a month volunteers to serve communion to the elderly at the local retirement home. If the entrance to heaven was measured by the path we take to reach the pearly gates, God would blow breath on my father's feet to lift him to the sky, while I would have a lot of explaining to do. I spend most days dodging confession booths, while my father serves salvation like 6 o'clock medication to folks who think of communion as a frequent flower mouse we rack up to get to heaven. Some of them have cashed their tickets by the time my father returns. But he returns every month. If not for them, then for the old man in room 14. For him, my father remains persistent, peers into his room and offers communion as if this time would be different, only to be met each month by a face as distant as the relatives who no longer visits. But for the first time last week, the old man said yes, took the leavened bread from my father's fingers, placed it on his lips where it lingered until that evening. He went to sleep and never woke again. Left this world with nothing more than a bedpan that needs cleaning, a 3-piece suit to be buried in, and the one question my father started asking since. What is it about death that makes a man finally come to terms with God? I am the wrong guy to be asking. There's a part of me that believes death doesn't give you too many chances to escape the light. You might as well smoke your lungs into midnight, drink like the liver deserves to be punished, supersize your value meals, pimp slap an ex-convict, masturbate until your brain explodes from a lack of oxygen. There's 6 million ways to die. Choose one that best fits your personality and run with it. I've been running ever since. Going through life as fast as I blow through cigarettes. Tipsy, walking on the rim of shot glasses, haphazard and reckless. Eyes wide open, searching for places I'm hoping God will never find me until I see my father. Knee buckled at the pews, hands knuckled at the brow, eyes clenched tight as the redemption reveals itself on the inside of our eyelids, and we are trying to squeeze it out through our tear ducts so the world can see God's glory inside us. My father will never show us tears, but I know, watching how his temples move in prayer, he sometimes curses God for the calloused palms, for the tired fingers, cursing how he can weave them so tight with faith, while God just watches his wife, his children, and his ambition slip through them. My father, who will feed you with one hand while spanking you into oblivion with the other, who lectures why an A- wasn't good enough, bring home a B and he'll ransack your room searching for drugs, who will brag to his friends about us, who will worry about my living life with such reckless abandon. My father, who after every cigarette break always asks if I could stay even for just a little while, and I find myself always saying no, because I've got things to do and places to go, and I watch him disappearing faster from my rear view, distance growing like the skid marks I blazed behind me. You were right, Pop, life is supersonic, so grab my arm and slow me down like you always have. Remind me not to run too fast, teach me to look both ways before crossing the street, because the world is out there, blazing by at high speed, and I get lost way too often, and some days I forget to come home. But you should know, these days I'm only reckless on a microphone. I'm looking both ways before making a decision. I'm holding tight before it all unravels with a simple misstep. So please, light up another cigarette. Let the smoke linger a little bit longer. Let it rise to the heavens, and I will ride it like God, blowing breath at my feet. And when I arrive, and they ask me if I've come to terms with my faith enough to come inside, I'll tell them the one thing I know to be true. I'll tell them I came to terms with God the moment I saw God living in you.